Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Rose and Ceilings podcast, where we talk all things feminism. And sometimes we like to spotlight women across the globe who are doing impactful work. And today we have a special guest who reached out to us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, myself Shraddha Sharma. I'm a young social entrepreneur from South Asia. I work across the South Asia and across the globe to empower women. I'm a social entrepreneur and a businesswoman, and I have been studying Indian religion since 2018. I've been studying on social manipulation since 2021, and especially how it impacts women and vulnerable communities around the world.
That is incredible. Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about your social entrepreneurship? What is that?
All right. So I run a group of of nonprofits dedicated to youth empowerment. They are called Global Youth Voices, and we have different organizations under it. One of the most impactful one is Global MUN Voices, which is dedicated to provide MUNs to underprivileged kids. It's mainly because MUNs here in India are really expensive, and it has become something which only rich can afford. So it is for that. Another one initiative that we run is Global Youth Feminist Voices. This is where we raise awareness for women. Another one we run is Global Youth Sanatan Voices, where we talk about Sanatan youth. It's actually about Hinduism, but here in India we like to call it Sanatan Dharma because Hinduism is a term which was given to us by the colonizers and by the people who are not originally us. So we prefer the term Sanatan Dharma here, which means the eternal. It's kind of an eternal duty because we don't really use the term religion here. We connect it more to the philosophy aspect of it.
Wow, that is incredible that you have so many different branches raising awareness for different topics as well. I can tell you're a very well-rounded social entrepreneur. That is fantastic. And I'm sorry I didn't catch where are you based?
I'm in India.
Oh, fantastic. And what inspired you to get into this work? You know, you're doing so many things and I'm always so curious to learn what really sparked it.
All right, so I think one of the main people who sparked it was definitely my mother. My mother is actually a teacher, and she's also a social entrepreneur. When I was around 3 or 4, my mother started her own school, and it was not just a school; it was also a daycare, and it provided employment to the rural women around her. My mother always did this thing that whenever she employed someone, she tried as much as possible to employ someone from a background who really needs the job. And hence, that kind of created an environment around me to think about the people who needed the most. I was always at my mother's daycare. It was a school come daycare, and I was always there whenever I used to come back from school. My mother made sure that I spent time with such people who need to tell their stories, who need to get their voice out. And I think that really shaped me as a person. I also have been quite of an activist since I was very young. I remember in fourth grade, there was this thing, like there's this thing in India that due to some colonial reasons and also our own history, there is a little bit of actually more than a little colorism here. And particularly, like people from South India, they're quite darker in color, and there is a very bad stereotype about them in Northern India. And there was this student who was a little darker in skin tone, and he was being accused of stealing pencils. And I made a little group of friends to catch it. That was my first act of trying to help people around me. Then in seventh grade, I started a kind of, I call it a baby revolution. It was for water. So what happened there was that the taps that used to give the students water, they were really polluted, and you could almost see a little yellow tint in there. And I started a petition for that. But again, it is so difficult for us youth here in India to talk about anything impactful because people are not ready to listen to us. They always underestimate us. In fact, I think all across Asia, there is this huge ageist thing that if you're younger than us, you don't know anything, you're basically dumb. And whenever we try to raise awareness on something which is important, it is on a large scale ignored. Me and a friend, we prepared a petition and we got across 100 signatures. But later, it was tore apart when we presented it to the teachers. And corporal punishment is a huge problem here in India as well. After seventh grade, I changed that school, and that is one of the scariest movements of my life. And I see that as a huge problem in the society and a huge scar on my memory. But at the same time, it is that one memory which keeps me alive to keep working for my people, to keep working for something that matters to me. It is that memory which tells me that, hey, you have to do this for your people. You know what you have been through, you know what your people have been through. And there's this one student particularly, he was a fellow friend who was helping me in activism. And he was punished really badly. It was a physical punishment, and he had really bad scars all over his body. And I
Mm.
think that was just one thing which was really traumatic for me and tells the reality of Indian youth today.
Wow, wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, like, hearing about your mother and yourself, of course, such bright, talented young voices, and that sounds like it had a huge impact on you growing up, and you immediately had this fire. You knew that you wanted to see a change, and I absolutely admire that. Hearing about the roadblocks that came with your water initiative, raising awareness, I'm curious, what how have you been able to overcome those roadblocks? How have you been able to, still manage to take care of yourself and balance all of these different things while fighting for change?
All right. So, first of all, I agree that there are so many multiple roadblocks that come in between. But I think the first thing whenever such a roadblock encounters us is to actually speak up. A lot of times, whenever a huge issue comes in the place of doing anything impactful, we are afraid to speak up about it. So, the first thing we must do is that we must speak up about it and we must communicate it as a problem. Because most of times, the biggest problem is that we are unaware of the issue. A lot of times, it is not that the society is patriarchal. This society doesn't know that it is patriarchal and it keeps practicing it. And so I think, first of all, the first step would be actually confronting the people who are doing such acts and telling them that it's not okay to do it. If they still keep insisting on do it, then I think the first way would be non-cooperation. India has a huge history of non-cooperation movements, especially against the colonial past. And I think non cooperation is very essential in any society which faces discrimination or any such major problems. If we do not cooperate with them, if we attack the base which makes the society operate, only then such issues can break. What I did was, okay, let me just tell you this. I have been called a crazy person so many different times. I have been on hunger strikes for days. I refuse to eat. Many a times, a lot of our students, we signed huge petitions, and many of us didn't go to schools altogether. We took a leave of a week or so. And this is also a personal way of activism. Okay, if you do not provide us resources which are necessary for us, we are not coming to school. I have a little bit of attendance problem with that. But I think non cooperation is one big way to settle this down. And now the environment has really improved. And if I even say that, okay, if the youth is not provided with the resources which they really need right now, we are going on a protest. They just tend to listen to us more, and they see us as equals. A lot of times when people discriminate, actually, most of the times when people discriminate, they don't see the person as an equal, and that is one of the core reasons why they do that. The moment they start seeing us as an equal and we start non-cooperating, we can actually show them how important we are, and we are also equals to them. We are important for the society as much as they are, and hence they start listening to us. This is one very important way which we can follow through this.
Wow, I think those are some great and interesting perspectives that you've shared. Yeah, for sure, reclaiming your power, reclaiming your energy, and showing that you are equal. I absolutely love that point, and also what you said about making sure that awareness is there in the first part, right? Making sure people understand what you're fighting for. You're aiming for systemic change, not slapping a band-aid on a problem, and I think that's a fantastic point. I'd love to go back to what the amazing things that you're doing to combat these issues through Global Youth Voices. Can you tell me a little bit more about your programming, a little bit more about what you're doing in your community?
All right. So first of all, if I start by Global Indian Voices, we recently had North India too, where we visited different cities, different states, and what we did there. Okay, so a lot of times, whenever, especially in India, we talk about initiatives. What we do is we target big universities and big colleges. But I personally think it's an unpopular opinion. But that simply makes our name. That puts the name of the company forward. It makes the company popular, but it rarely makes any actual impact. If we actually want to make an impact, we must travel the areas unseen. So during North India too, we traveled to the rural India. And that is the real India. That is the heart of India. Most of India is living in the rural areas. That is where they need us the most. And even if you go to a big college or a big university, is that really making an impact? I think the best way to work on any issue or any impact is actually targeting the places where they need it the most without any big desire of, hey, if I go there, I'm going to get fame. Hey, if I go there, I will be popular. Without such desires, if we actually just put these desires aside for a moment and focus on the areas which really need it, we can actually help make a change. A lot of times in the empowerment arena and the activism arena, the people just want fame. Like a lot of times this happens that people do not actually want to work for activism or empowerment. They just want to get a good college seat or get their name out there, become really popular, just appear on a news channel. But if you really want to make a change, get to the core of the problem. You must be unafraid of going to the place. I've heard these things. Beware of the homeless in rural India. It is this, it is that. If you do not get there, the problem will never solve. If you're just afraid that, okay, like they are homeless, they can cheat, they can steal from us, they can do this, they can do that, they have like really bad stereotypes. We can never make a change if we are afraid of social problems. Like, you're a warrior. If you do not want to make a change, why are you even in this arena? Just, I think the most important thing we're doing is we're traveling the rural India and we are making things such as MUNs, we are making things such as activism, such as empowerment. We are making these things local. Like most of the times, most Indians think that okay, such things, activism and empowerment, these are big words and these are made for the big cities. But the core is to getting these words local, to getting these words in every village, in every small city, in every small town. If every small city, every small town, every village speaks these names, then I'm sure that a change can be created.
Oh, absolutely. You are a warrior. Yeah, so I'm so glad that you're taking that initiative, uniting people in rural communities, especially. Absolutely, yeah. Advocacy can seem like such a big scary word. So for sure, going and doing local grassroots initiatives and helping other people see that they can get involved, I think that's absolutely amazing what you're doing. And for our young girls listening, the majority of our audience is younger girls, and they might be wondering, how can I get into this space? How can I help people like me, or how can I pursue what I'm passionate about? So, as a woman of color, I've definitely found that hard myself. So I'm so curious what your advice would be for young girls who are trying to pursue what they're passionate about, but just aren't sure how to start.
All right. So first of all, I think I would say that activism starts at home. Just like a lot of things like sharing starts at home and kindness starts at home, activism also starts at home. Go around in your neighboring areas, find problems, talk to younger girls around you or anyone you're trying to help around you. Get out in your neighborhood, see the things which are around you. If instead of going if you instead of go to another country and be like, hey, there's a huge problem in that country and I will take a plane ticket and I will go there and I will solve the problem. First of all, if you really want to work in this place, try solving local problems. Be in your area. I think local empowerment is really important. Be in your area. Get out in your neighborhood. See what problems are around you and try solving them first. As soon as you start identifying problems on a local level, try posting them online so you can share it with a huge level of audience. And once you're really like in touch with the local people and like everybody knows you, okay, I think that's this girl who's really passionate about this thing and you have like this good reputation. Try traveling to neighboring local areas. I think Always start with root problems which you are facing. For example, youth empowerment. This is not being talked about, and I say this with full courage. No matter which government comes in India, this problem is not solving, and hence I had to speak about this. So, first of all, try seeing the problems around you. Try to analyze the things around you and start working with that. If you feel that there's a huge problem that girls are not being allowed to do this in your area, like try to identify a place where girls are. If the lot of girls are in a park, then go to the park, talk to them. Hey, what do you think about this issue? Are you facing any problems? And talk to them, discuss what could be the possible solutions, talk to their communities, engage with them. I think that is one thing which is really important. If you want to start local. And if you want to build up a little more, get on social media and try regularly posting, because that is one thing which can really get you followers. I know that graphic designing may seem a lot scary. So just try posting your little videos, or even use ChatGPT for help, or just any kind of other AI if you need that. But start local, and if you want to grow a little more, use social media. And okay, I need to say this, reach out to like-minded people. As soon as you build a community of like-minded individuals, it creates a backup. A lot of times we lose motivation and we are like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. Like, okay, this is so done. And you see people around you and they're like, okay, she did this, she did that. Isabella founded a podcast. You just go around looking at people like you and you think, okay, if they can do it and they're a part of the activism arena, I think I can do this too. So they're always a source of hope and always a source of motivation. And I want to thank you as well. You're a source of motivation for so many other young girls.
Aw, thank you, Shraddha. Absolutely. And I'm so happy to hear about the work you're doing, just like you said, connecting with people who are really making an impact in the world. It just inspires me and keeps me going. So I think that's a great piece of advice. And to wrap us up, I'd love it if you shouted out any platforms where can our viewers follow your work?
All right, so we are here on Instagram. Okay, our Instagram is under construction for now, like not really under construction. We are redeveloping the whole social media. But you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very active here. I know, like, it is a little bit like you shouldn't be a LinkedIn warrior thing. But I think it is great for raising awareness. But at the same time, as much as you're posting on social media, it is also important to work locally and empower that. So I think if you can post on social media and you can be there locally, I think that would be best. So I would just say follow at the rate global.indian voices on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. I'm there at __ Moni, which stands for peacock. And that is like really just a cute little thing. Like I call myself a peacock because, to be honest, this world is really in a huge problem. And it's like when world cries, it rains, and peacocks dance when it rains. And it is like they try to solve the world's issues, and that's why I call myself a peacock. Actually, a female peahen, a morning, which means that when the world is crying, I will dance so I can probably solve their issues and lighten their mood a little bit.
Wow, I've never heard that one before. I like the peacock thing. That's fun. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for listening today to our audience. Hopefully you can go connect with Shraddha. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for this. Let's change